Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. We welcome all of you for the today's morning program, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Prasadeswar Krishna Prabhu, and he will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 10, and text 3 and 4. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayate Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome all devotees for Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya at our ICC temple. So we're going to discuss today about Canto 5, Chapter 10, Text 3 and 4, the discussion between Jadabharata and Rahuguna. Text 3. Ata Ishvara Vachas Sofalambham Upakaryamyopaya Turiya Chankita Manasa Tam Vijnapaya Bahuha. Synonyms and translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Synonyms. Atha, thus, they, the carriers of the palanquin. Ishvara Vachaha, the words of the master, King Rahuguna. Sa, Upalambham, with reproach. Upakarnaya, hearing, upaya, the means, turiyat, from the fourth one, sankita manasaha, whose minds were afraid, tam, him, that's king, vinjapayam bahuha, informed. Translation. When the palanquin carriers heard the threatening words of Maharaj Rahuguna, they became very afraid of his punishment and began to speak to him as follows. Purport. According to political science, a king sometimes tries to pacify his subordinates, sometimes chastises them, sometimes derides them, and sometimes rewards them. In this way, the king rules his subordinates. The bearer of this palanquin could understand that king was angry, that he would chastise them. We'll read Sloka 4 also. Navayam naradeva paramatta bhavan niyamanupataha sadva eva vahamaha ayam adbunaiva niyukta apina drutam vrijiti nanena sahavodham Uha vayam parayamaya iti. Synonyms. Na, not. Vayam, we. Nara deva, O Lord among the human beings. The king who is supposed to be the representative of Deva, the Supreme Personality Godhead. Paramattaha, neglectful in our duties. Bhavata niyama anupataha, who are always obedient to your order. Sadhu, properly. Eva, certainly. Vahamaha, we are carrying. I am, this man. Adhuna, just recently. Eva, indeed. Niyuktaha, being engaged to work with us. Api, although. Na, not. Drutham, very quickly. Brajati, works. Na, not. Anena, him. Saha, with. Odhum, to carry. Uha, ho. Vayam, we. Parayamaha, are able. Iti, thus. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Oh Lord, please note that we are not at all negligent in discharging our duties. We have been faithfully carrying this palanquin according to your desire. But this man who has been recently engaged to work with us cannot walk very swiftly. Therefore, we are not able to carry the palanquin with him. Purport. The palanquin carriers were Shudras, whereas Jadabharata was not only a high caste Brahmana, but also the great devotee. Shudras do not sympathize with the other living beings. But Vaishnava cannot act like a Shudra. Whenever a Shudra and a Brahmana Vaishnava are combined, there will certainly be imbalance in execution of duties. Shudras were walking with the palanquin without at all carrying for ants on the ground. But Jadabharata could not act like a Shudra, and therefore difficulty arose. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So then I'll pronounce to all of you. So before I speak, I would like to seek your blessings so that we can discuss few words for the pleasure of all the assembled Vaishnavas and for Guru Parampara. Please shower your mercy so that I can speak right words to right situation and I don't concoct anything. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripatarubhyasya prattana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo ananta koti vaishnavrinda ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now, we all know the background. There is a discussion between Jadabharata and King Rahuguna. So before that, the Sutta Goswami is saying this, that King Rahuguna was traveling. So I'll just read the previous two verse translation so that we get a connection with that. So the text one, Sutta Goswami says, Sukata Goswami continued, my dear king, after this, I can share. Okay, so text one, Sukadeva Goswami continued. My dear king, after this King Rahuguna, the ruler of the state known as Sindhu and Sovira, was going to Kapilashrama. When the king's chief palanquin carriers reached the banks of river Ikshumati, they needed another carrier. Therefore, they began searching for someone, and by chance, they came upon Jadabharata. They considered fact that Jadabharata was very young and strong and had firm limbs like cows and asses. he is quite fit to carry the loads. Thinking in this way, although the great soul Jadabharata was unfit for such work, they nonetheless unhesitatingly forced him to carry the palanquin. Next, we already have discussed already. Just read the translation only. The palanquin, however, was very erratically carried by Jadabharata due to his sense of non-violence. As he stepped forward, he checked before him every 3 feet to see whether he was about to step on ants. Consequently, he could not keep pace with the other carriers. Due to this, the palanquin was shaking, and King Rahuguna immediately asked carriers, "Why are you carrying this palanquin unevenly? Better carry it properly." So this is the background in which your discussion happens. Now the palanquin carriers as responding, because when king chastised them, they were afraid, and they were, kind of replying back saying that it's not me or thus we who are creating problem. It is Jadabharata who is creating problem, who is the person who was recently employed to carry this palanquin. So we know the background of Jadabharata. Now, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that according to political science, a king sometimes tries to pacify his subordinates and sometimes chastise them, sometimes derides them, and sometimes rewards them. In this way, king rules and subordinates. The bearer of the palanquin could understand that king was angry and that he would chastise them. So Prabhupada talks about here the duties of a king. How king, now king, or we are as a practicing sadhakas, we also have certain responsibilities, certain positions. We are not kings of the nation, but we are kings in the respective places. In the sense, we may have some services or some positions. So in that also, we should take lessons from this. We should execute our duties such a way that it pleases the Lord and pleases of Guru Parampara. So for that process, whatever required as per Shastra, as instructed by seniors, we should do that. So here, how King Rahuguna was chastising because he's king. Now, we as the responsible persons, as a father, or the certain roles, we have to make sure that our duties are performed perfectly, so the satisfaction of our seniors and Guru Parampara. For that, whatever required, wherever we are authorized, we have empowered, chastise if required, we should do, at that level, of course, within our limits. And we should reward the people. The appreciation is very, very important. So both we need to take care. Then only we can do our duty properly, our service properly. Otherwise, we may fail in our duty. That's why Prabhupada brings out this point, the duties of king. But as a practicing devotees, we should take out the lesson from this and try our best what can be done to the pleasure of the seniors. And now, next verse is purport Srila Prabhupada writes, the other palanquin carriers were Shudras, whereas Jadabharata was not only high caste Brahmana, but also the great devotee. Now, in the previous verse, we're talking about a king, and here he talks about the other palanquin carriers were Shudras, and Jadabharata was Vaishnava and the great Brahmana. Now, as a king, as a ruler, there is a certain punishment or certain rules and regulations given, like Manusmriti talks about various ways a king should execute his duties. And of course, as a practicing devotees, we may not be able to implement everything, but as a king, this applies to the rulers today. But today's world, we see how the injustice happens in the name of justice. They say that if a culprit, until it's proved, is not culprit. That is a kind of a law. We have a lawyer here, Daimai Prabhu, he may agree to that. But many times we find that we are not giving justice. So Manusmriti talks about a powerful and rational penal system, danda, for the true ruler. So, as per Manusmriti, if the sinner or the person who done a crime is to be punished, because it's for his better. Otherwise, he will be punished by the Yamadutas, Yamaraj, and he'll have to rot in the hell for several lives. So it is better. So king is doing not injustice, king is actually doing justice to the person to the done crime. At the same time, he set an example for others not to do this. Example, if somebody steals, the punishment could be that he's cut his hand. That is a punishment. Now, what happens with that? He is not able to do this crime again. And also, wherever he goes, the people see him and learn that, no, he has been stolen and he has been punished. So I should also deter from this. I should not do this. So that's why Prabhupada says that there are three kinds of people who learn. Somebody learns from the knowing and seeing from others. Somebody learns by own experience. Somebody doesn't learn at all. So we have that kind of people also. But as a king, he has to implement this kind of punishment crime. So this is a real propagator of justice, and he should be a proper discipliner, and then only he can be good administrator. And with that, he can protect the varnashrama system properly. How different ashramas, and there is a different punishment for different ashramas. It's not that everybody the same. Based on time, place, circumstances, king administers, and all this kind of danda or the punishment is as per Shastra. Kings don't, concoct themselves. They have a proper mantri, the ministers who are expert in this. They give a right advice. But today, that's what lacking. So that's why he says that protect the public and also keeps nation awakened in this way, so that everybody knows if there is some crime, what is the result. We generally see, right, people go to some countries where rules are very strict. For example, Gulf countries or Singapore. Same person will behave very well there. But the same person, when it comes to India, it totally changes, because he knows, here I can get away with that. I can do any crime and get away with that. So that is what the problem is, that because once a person is, let, and it gives a lesson to others also, thinks that, okay, I can also do, so I can also get away with that. That's why king has to properly do the punishment as per Shastra and implement this process. Now, in the next verse, Prabhupada talks about Brahmana and Shudra. So how Brahmana, especially Brahmana Vaishnava, not just Brahmana by birth. Krishna says that Chaturvanya Maya Sista Guna Karma Bhaksha. He says, I divided this four Varna and Ashrama based on the Guna Karma. So here, Jadabharata was not just a Brahmana, he's a great Vaishnava. So when the palanquin carrier, they employed him because he's well built and he was strong. But he was, till then he was behaving like a dumb man, because he was not bothered about what is external to the body. So he was completely conscious of, his self-realization. And at this stage, because he could see the ants on the ground, he was keeping his steps away. And each time he see any stamps, the ants there, I'm stepping on them. So this was disturbing Rahuguna, because, it's stopping and jumping and all this thing happened. So when Rahuguna chastised his palanquin carrier, they say, my dear Lord, we are not doing it. This is the new person who was employed. He is doing it because of it. In this translation, Srila Prabhupada, when we talk about a king, he says that king is supposed to be the representative of Deva and Supreme Personality Godhead, whole Lord among the human beings. So king is a representative of the Lord. So that is a duty of the king. So king should take this ownership, and also king should behave and act accordingly. Because that's the reason today's world, the so-called rulers, they don't have their own behavior. That's the reason country is, going this direction. So real Ramarajya we are looking at, we should have a kings like Lord Ram or Janaka Maharaj or Dasharatha Maharaj. So that's the kind of a kings who can give justice. At the same time, they can bring and law and order in this country. And they can have all the Varna Ashrama properly working. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, all are working properly. So that's the point. Now, here talking about Brahmana and Shudra, in Bhagavad Gita's 2nd chapter, 69th verse, it says, Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutanam Tasya Jagrati Samyami Yashasyam Jagrati Bhutani Na Nisha Sa Nisha Pashyato Munehe. What is a night for all beings is the time for awakening of all self-controlled. And the time of awakening of all beings is a night for introspective sages. So the difference between the people in the mode of ignorance and people completely in the mode of goodness and Shuddha Sattva. So that is the difference is given. Prabhupada writes in this purport, very wonderful to phrases like this. There are two classes of intelligent men. One is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and other is introspective to awake to the cultivation of self-realization. So we see in the today's world also, intelligence is there. People are working hard, they're using their brain, they use intelligence for all kind of, the sense gratification and how they improve their standard of living according to them. They think by doing that, they improve a standard of living, like building a big road or big highways, or going to the space, building an aircraft, or new implemented. Now the new technology comes, artificial intelligence or ChatGPT. Nowadays, if you ask any kids any question, they immediately go to ChatGPT and give the answer. So they don't use the brain. So the result is that we become completely depend on those technology and gadgets, and we lose our own individuality. So that's the reason we see that today's generation is more attached to the gadgets than people. That's why it said that we should use gadgets and serve or engage with the devotees or people. Now, what happens that we serve or we engage with the gadgets and we use people, use our fellow devotees. So that is a contradiction happens. That's why Prabhupada is saying that the people use intelligence completely for sense gratifications, not for self-realization. So there's two classes of men. So we should, as a practicing sadhakas, we should focus on our intelligence for self-realization and also propagating this to others. So Prabhupada's mission is always, so preach. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Yare deko tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. So that is the intelligence we use. We should use intelligence. How can we spread this? So this is the one commitment we given to our guru when we take enough diksha. Yeah, there is other two commitment like the chanting 16 rounds and following the regular principle. On the top of it, the commitment is that I will help to propagate Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON movement. So that's where we should use our intelligence. Sense gratification will go on. Prabhupada one place says that millions of life you are done your sense gratification. At least this life, give it to Krishna. That is a change we should bring in. Then only the self-realization will happen. Then only the change in our heart will happen. Otherwise, we will be like another animal. That change should happen. So Prabhupada further writes here, the activities of introspective sages or thoughtful man are night for the persons materially absorbed. Materialist persons remain asleep such in the night, and due to their ignorance, the self-realization. So now those people, sense gratification, we can see that they are all activities happen at night. We see nowadays the government also encouraging that they want everything to be open 24 hours because nightlife, that's how the society goes. So that nightlife is demonic mentality. That's where all this, demonic mentality and all this sense gratification and materialistic thinking going on. So as per Shastra, we have to sleep or we have to take rest at the prospective time and get up at least before Brahma Murta and do our sadhana, and then our day activity starts. That is a prescribed, kind of a process for a Brahmana. Now, when we don't do that, we become a Shudra because we have become ignorant. So in the here it says that those awaken, those who are self-realized, when they awake up, all these people, those who are materialistic, they are in sleep. Further, Prabhupada writes here, in this gradual advancement of spiritual culture, whereas man is materialistic activities being asleep to self-realization, dreams of varieties of sense pleasure, feeling sometime happy, sometime distressed in sleeping condition. The introspective man always indifferent to the materialistic happiness and distress. He goes on with the self-realization activities undisturbed by the materialistic reactions. Now we see today's world, there is so much daydreaming happening. We can make, why I'm saying daydreaming is that they project so many things. Yes, we will do this, we will do this. Prabhupada, even in 1969, 70s, he was challenging them. You people are, talking about so many things I will do in future. Like Prabhupada says, you are like a posted check. You are not giving anything. You are just saying, I will do future. Why future? He says, do it now. Science cannot do, what the spiritual activity can do. That's why many times they are daydreaming and they may achieve something. Krishna also gives intelligence. Krishna also fulfills their desires. Yes, is your desire, okay, do that. But that is a very, very temporary and insignificant in front of what the Lord can do. But that is what the difference between a self-realized sage and a kind of a person in the mode of ignorance, a materialistic person. So that's the point Prabhupada brings out here. We should come out of this sense gratification, ignorance position to a Brahmana or self-realization position. That's why Prabhupada said that we have to create a society of Brahmanas, and he said, all my disciples should be gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. So that is the standard we wanted to bring to the society. Then only we can help others. We have to improve our thought process. We have to improve the way of thinking, because otherwise we will be also engrossed. We will be dragged into their condition. Should be very, very careful, because our society is so strong and Maya is also so strong. Yesterday we were hearing about Srila Prabhupada's disciples talking about Maya is so strong, but Prabhupada was very, very, kind of strict, and at the same time very fully firm that Maya cannot touch me, because he was fully surrendered to Krishna. And that's what he was expecting. Many times he said that my disciples are not sufficiently afraid of Maya, because outside world, the society is controlled by Maya Devi and so attractive, looks so lucrative. People easily get trapped. That's why we as a practicing devotees, sadhakas, we should be very careful, and we should understand the pros and cons of this and practice our life. So similarly, 13th chapter, Bhagavata, 22 verse. So it says, Purusha prakritostohi bhungte prokta jana gunaha karanam gunasangosya sat ashad yoni janmashu. The living entity in this material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. And this is due to his association with the material nature. Thus, he meets with the good and evil among the various species. So, as a practice devotees, when we understand this, many times Prabhupada said that Jiva is always pure. Many times examples are given like a rainwater. Rainwater coming from the sky is always pure, but as soon as it touches this material world, the earth, because of the contamination of earth, it becomes the water contaminates. Similarly, the soul is pure, but because of the three modes of nature, the mode of ignorance and mode of passion, the soul also gets engrossed in that. That's why, third chapter, 27th verse, Krishna says, Prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartha iti manati. So actually, three modes is managed, and it's managed under his control. Deviyesha gunamai mamamaya durataya. He says, it's everything under my control. Maya is also my control. Maya is also my energy. But the ahankara vimudhatma, the atma out of ahankara thinks that I am the doer. I can do so many things. I can enjoy, I can control, I can, manage, thinking my strength, my power, my intelligence. That's the ahankara. That is a false ego. Whereas when that time, like Krishna says, Maya captures. And such person can only when surrender to Krishna, otherwise he cannot control Maya. Maya is Krishna's energy. That's why Prabhupada is saying here, the living entity should follow the nature's life and come out of three modes of nature and come to the Shuddha Sattva. Realized, that's a self-realization position. We as a practicing devotees, this is the lesson we should learn. And with that, we should be able to go up in our ladder of bhakti. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, 10th verse, Lord says that sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharata, sometimes the mode of passion defeats the goodness and ignorance, and other times ignorance defeats the goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. Again, as a practicing devotee, I'm talking about me. So it's even we are thinking about we want to go to goodness and passion. This passion and ignorance comes in our life. In one particular place, Prabhupada says that even when we are in the mode of goodness, there will be tinge of passion and ignorance, and there will be combinations. Each one is fighting each other because ignorance want to overpower passion and goodness, and sometimes passion want to overpower the goodness. So we should be conscious of this. What mood I am into that? What is that I'm going through? What is that mode I am into that? So that's why we should be always take this into the conscious. Otherwise, many times we see in the morning time also, generally it's a mode of goodness, but due to some incident or some thought process, the ignorance or passion comes. Even our day-to-day life also, many times our passion comes in, because especially in the, as previous was said, the king or the kind of administrators, when we also get some positions, some power, the passion comes in, and I start thinking that yes, now I'm the controller, I'm the ruler, so I can manage, I can do this. So I come into the kind of passion, and with that passion, my ignorance comes in, and ignorance start overpowering both. This is, as a practice devotees, I should be very, very careful of that. The Prabhupada and the purport rise. Therefore, one who is actually intent on advancing Krishna consciousness has to transcend these three modes. The prominence of a certain mode of nature is manifested in one's own dealings, in his activities, eating, etc. So here, our day-to-day life, with whom you are associated with whom you are mingling with, and what we're eating, what we are watching, what we are doing, all these matters with which mode I am into that. So if I am into in the association with the people with the mode of passion and ignorance, naturally I'll be influenced by their modes. So that's the point. As a practicing devotees, I should be careful about it. Further, Prabhupada writes here, if one is determined, he can be blessed by the modes of goodness, and by transcending the modes of goodness, he can be situated in a pure goodness, which is called Vasudeva state. Vasudeva state. and the state in which one can understand the science of God. So this is the state we as a practicing devotees, I mean, again, it's for me. So as a practicing devotees, I should aspire to, I should always, but Prabhupada says, this can be done. I should have determination. If one is determined, so again, it's me who has to determine. It's my sincere desire, and that desire, along with the sincere prayers, can work. Otherwise, cannot work. With my strength, I cannot do it. But I should have sincere desire and also my sincere prayer. And with that, says I can move towards Shuddha Sattva, Vasudeva state. That is the state at which we can realize the Supreme Lord. Last, Prabhupada says here, by the manifestation of particular activities, it can be understood that what mode nature one is situated. So with that, we can understand what state I am into that, what mode I am into that, depending upon my association, my eating habits, my other activities, we can make out what mode I am into that. So this is where I should kind of practice, and I should imbibe in my day-to-day life. Similarly, 18th chapter, 42 words, a Brahmana's quality has been given. So again, we all know that, it's for me again. So he says, Samodhama tapas saucham kshantir arjanam evacha jnanam vijnanam astakhyam brahma karma swabhavajamam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which a Brahmana works. So Prabhupada talks about here that Jarabharata was a great Brahmana, Vaishnava. And because of Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we have got the qualities of, we got the instructions of how a Brahmana should behave. And also because of the association with the Srila Prabhupada disciples, we got this empowerment to act as a Brahmanas also. So that Brahmanas, the empowerment given by our Guru Maharaj is not just for namesake. We should imbibe, we should practice that. These are the 9 qualities talks about. As much as possible, we should always remind myself, I should remind myself and think about peacefulness, self-control, austerity. Again, austerity is specifically the austerity for the chanting the holy names, reading scriptures, preaching, and the fasting on certain days as prescribed by Shastras. These are austerities, and tolerating or the provoking situation within community. That's as soon as I start responding back to the provoking situation, I also get engrossed in that. So this is the areas I should, and the purity, tolerance, honesty, the knowledge, and wisdom and religiousness. These are the 9 qualities as a practice devotees I should try to imbibe. Similarly, there is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, or same verse there in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 9th verse, 9th chapter, 10th verse. This is Lord Chaitanya's instruction to Sanatana Goswami. We know the story behind how Sanatana Goswami escaped from the jail by bribing to the jailer. That's a nice discussion happens there. And after that, on the way, he meets a kind of a astrologer who could kind of understand that Sanatana Goswami had got some gold coins. So he wanted to kill. But Sanatana Goswami understood, and he gave he told his servant that you give this gold coin to him. Then that person says, no, you gave only 7, you had 8. Then Sanatana Goswami chastised his servant. What are you doing? Why are you carrying this death with you? So later on, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met, there is instruction happens here, that discussion happens here. So in that translation, Prabhupada writes, one may be born as a Brahmana family and have all 12 Brahmanical qualities. Now, in the previous verse, we talk about 9. Here talks about 12. 12 Brahmanic qualities. But if one not devoted to the lotus feet of Krishna, and who has navel shaped like lotus, he is not good as a Chandala, who was dedicated in mind, words, activities. And or has Brahmanical qualities is not sufficient. So one must become pure devotee of the Lord. And if Swapacha or Chandala is a devotee, and he is deliverer not only himself but his whole family, whereas a Brahmana who is not devotee but simply has a Brahmanical qualification cannot even purify himself, what to speak of the family. So this is the final lesson for us, that getting sanctioned the authority of Brahmanical rights from a guru, yes, that's not enough. Unless we develop these qualities and behave like a Vaishnava. Prabhupada says that, or one who was born in a Brahmana family claims himself as Brahmana is worse than Chandala, because he cannot even deliver himself, he cannot deliver the family. So what is the use of such Brahmanical qualities or Brahmanical, activities? So we have to surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna. That is the what required. So that we become pure devotees of Lord. So both should go hand in hand, Brahmanical qualities and develop the absolute surrender to the Supreme Lord. So that is the ultimate. Similarly, there is Ishopanishad verse talks about similar talks. He says, verse number 7, Ishopanishad says, one who always sees all living entities as a spiritual sparks. The inequality one with the Lord becomes true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? So, like Prabhupada says here that one who has seen every living entity same. Now the Jadabharata, even for ant, he is not, not don't want to, stamp on them. So that is a kind of a mercy, or that is a kind of a level of compassion he has got. So here's Prabhupada says, one who sees every living spiritual parts, what an illusion, anxiety for him. So there is no anxiety and there is no illusion. And Maya cannot even touch, Maya cannot even come near. So that is the point Prabhupada brings out. Prabhupada purport says, except for Madhyamadikari and Uttamadikari discussed above, no one can correctly see the spiritual position of the living beings. So again, so Prabhupada brings out, we should from Kanishtadikari to the Madhyamadikari. And actually, we should reach to Uttamadikari. And of course, for a preaching purpose, devotees, they come down to Madhyamadikari and preach, but their always consciousness is always Uttamadikari. That is a standard we should set. That is a level at which we as a practicing devotees should, reach. And Srimad Bhagavatam, the second canto, 7th chapter, 42nd verse, it says, but anyone who is specifically favored by the Supreme Lord, the personality Godhead, due to unalloyed surrender unto service of the Lord, can overcome the insurmountable ocean of illusion and can understand the Lord. But those who are attached to the body, which is meant to be eaten at the end by the dogs and jackals, cannot do so. So the conclusion point is this here. So unless we surrender to Supreme Lord, and with the complete unallied, devotional service, and overcome all the instrumental illusion, like Prabhupada says that for such devotees, the material nuisance is like the hoof, the water in the calves, the foot hoof. Such a small, how easily we can cross. Like that, we can cross this whole material nuisance, the material world. Such a big one, but so easy because Krishna is with us. With the Krishna's surrender, we can do that. But at the same time, Prabhupada says that, but those who are attached to the body and meant to be eaten by the dogs and jackals at the end, what is the use of their, whatever the practice they're doing it, unless we surrender to the Supreme Lord. So again, I'll stop here just to conclude here. So Jada Bharata, so carrying the palanquin, So that's a discussion. Palanquin was not properly carried because Jadabharata was looking for the ants. That's why Rahuguna chastises the servants. And they say it's not because of us, it's because Jadabharata. Prabhupada and purport brings out the previous was the duties of king. And here next, Prabhupada brings out the Brahmana and Shudra, how we should differentiate and how we should behave like a Brahmana. So finally, as we should behave like a Brahmana and go beyond that, Shuddha Sattva, Vaishnava Shuddha Sattva, and fully surrendered, do unalloyed devotion service Supreme Lord. That is the standard as a practicing devotees for us, Prabhupada has given. With this, I'll stop here. Hare Krishna. Anybody want to correct any mistakes, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so